good evening. Thank you for joining us on World Awakening tonight. I'm very excited and thrilled, really, to welcome back my star brother, Tony Rathman. Tony was the original producer of the show when we hopped on with KGRA several years ago. And then his schedule prohibited him from being able to do it because he's in a different time zone. So Bill took over as my producer, but Tony owns a piece of my heart. And he is one of the most brilliant, most beautiful, peaceful, sublime souls that I have ever had the privilege to encounter. And so without further ado, please welcome Tony Rathman.
How are you? It is so, I can't even tell you how good it is just to see you and to talk to you. I know we've kept in contact, but this is wonderful. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on tonight. I appreciate that.
Oh, I've missed you so much. And it's been a couple of years now since we've seen each other.
It has. I think the last time was when you were out at Fulcher City, I think was the last time I saw you in person.
Was it, or was it Starworks?
Starworks. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yep. You're correct. You're correct.
Yeah. When I had that incident that was not a dream.
Right. Right.
Oh, look at all the people who love you that are hopping on the bottom of the banner. Oh my God.
It is so nice to jump back on and see people being excited to see that I'm on, and to, all the great wishes. I mean, they're just flying into comments. So I thank every one of your audience. You've always had a fantastic audience, and just letting you all know I appreciate that very much.
I do have, they're just the most wonderful people. And it's such an eclectic mix of people. I mean, like from every field, every different, mindset. All different religious backgrounds,
Right.
all different, it's like a cornucopia of delights. But nothing, there's no two things in that beautiful basket that are the same.
Right.
And they're all the same, and we're all in the basket together. It's just great. It's just great. We have people who are watching us in Australia right now, and they're having breakfast.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a reach. That's worldwide.
Oh, that's great. Still sleeping, but I'm already awakening at 4
a.m. Now that's impressive.
Oh, it is. Hello to Germany. Oh, God, that's so great. We also have a crew up in Iceland,
wow.
And all over Western Europe, Pakistan, Kuala Lumpur. I'm like, wow. The messages that I get after the show, it's so nice to go global every Friday night,
It is. And that was, as you know, one of our objectives when you and I put this together was your messages and your guests are always so strong and so important. I mean, they are literally the right, exactly. Literally the building blocks of what life's important factors are, what should be focused on, how people should be, viewing things, reacting, how they, what's important in life. And that has to be global. It just has to be.
Yeah, it does. And, I think that the most important thing about Soul School, the show that I just finished with Jeff and then coming on into a World Awakening, is they really are, holding hands. It's really one and the same thing. In terms of the enlightenment is no easy feat.
No.
It's not. And if for an hour or two every week, those that take the time out of their busy lives to come and join us, the point is not to tell them what to think. It is to help teach them how to think
Correct.
more expansive way,
Right.
how to maybe in a more spiritual way, in terms of our ascension as
Right.
human
Yeah.
beings, coming
It's
to
a conscious awareness of who we are, where
yes,
we've come from, where we'll go back to,
yeah,
and we're all the same in the matter of that. That consciousness is probably from one universal consciousness, and
yes,
that
one
makes us as
divine mind,
similar as it comes. Right.
yeah, and we're each using it,
Correct.
because the brain and the mind are two separate, distinct things,
Completely.
and
Completely.
yeah, it serves its purpose well in terms of processing the information, but what
Correct.
is the source and the core of the message?
Soul, spirit, consciousness, whatever words you want to call it, but
Yeah,
it is, and it's it's so funny because the what consciousness is and how we believe it works. I mean, science has made some great leaps in the last 5 or 10 years as far as saying, hey, maybe there's more to consciousness than just
yeah,
when the brain dies, the body dies, consciousness dies. They've
mhm,
opened up some doors looking at different channels that they're showing some proof that consciousness may very well survive death, and which is great to see. Now, the 90% of the materialistic or physical science side still pretty much adheres to it, but it's good to see those doors open because science is supposed to look at every aspect and then determine what
mhm.
they believe reality to be. So it's good to see that.
It is, but Einstein actually turned out to be much more spiritually rooted than anybody ever really gave him credit for during the height of his popularity and his career. And
Correct.
it was really later in life that he started to share some of his spiritual beliefs.
Yeah. Well, even when he talked about, and there are still recorded instances where he spoke about it, but one of his main goals was to create the phone to the dead. And he, as a brilliant scientist, thought it would be possible,
Yeah.
which correlates very well with
Yeah.
what I've been doing for the last 3.5 years,
Yeah.
which is the little banner behind me,
Yeah.
Spanacom, which literally today is probably about as close as to being able to call it a phone to the dead, as probably Thomas Edison would have been very impressed to hear. And we have been just getting unbelievable responses from it, and full sentences and clear as a bell. And it's fantastic to see and learn everything we can from what they say and how they interact. And it's wild stuff.
Well, it seems to me that if every conceivable element of our humanity, including our intellect and our intuition, our psyche, our id, our ego, like every component of what makes us human, if that all comes from one centralized energy core, from source energy or from creative energy or whatever, it's all this new age vernacular that we struggle with and we're trying to work our way through, and
Right.
have what we're saying apply in mind to everyone that hears it to mean the same thing, which is almost an impossibility.
Right.
But when we get to a point like with Cody and Satori, what Cody and Satori do is called numinism. It exists. It's always existed. It happens rarely when two individuals connect on such a high vibrational level that they can automatically communicate with the dead, and whether that's in the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, beyond, we don't know. But it's real. What Staticom, what you have, I mean, it has rendered the spirit box obsolete, the Shack Pack obsolete, it's no wonder.
Well, but you're right. Your comments about like Cody and Satori raising their vibration. I mean, even Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, that even exceeds the universe, because those three things make up almost everything. Even furniture sitting in your house is literally a combination of energy, frequency, and vibration, which is holding whatever it is together, and it's vibrating at a certain level, same as every human vibrates at different levels based on their mood or what's going on in their life. And yeah, when you can raise that vibration, those doors can open, and that exchange of information between I guess the word I want to use is separated human spirit from the universal consciousness. You can get information passed back and forth when that vibrational level goes up. And we believe part of that is how Staticom functions. But yeah, it's just the information that has been learned over the last 3.5 years, just mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing.
Let me ask you the one important question that I had for you tonight is, well, let me just preface it with this. Cody and Satori have asked questions of the spirits in my presence, and the answer has come back, we can't tell you. Has anything like that happened to you?
Yes, it has. In fact, we are starting to understand, and I call them, and this may not be the proper term, but I call them universal laws, meaning that we will ask question after question, and most of them will get straightforward, honest answers. But there is a certain point where we hit a wall. And we hit that wall for the reason being that they cannot say anything or give you any information that will change the life you were put here to live and for what you were meant to gain and learn from it for the growth of your own individual spirit or consciousness. So when you start asking questions, and even simple ones like, what's the winning Powerball numbers? They will, I mean, we've had them rattle off numbers for everything under the sun. But if we ask
my date of birth, my date of death, my,
But if I ask for the Powerball numbers, dead silent, or, you'll hear them say to each other, don't talk, don't say anything. And then we were asking a woman named Kathleen some questions, and she was answering everything. And then we could hear the spirits in the background saying, stop, Kathleen, stop talking, stop talking. And then they finally literally took her away, or I don't know how exactly that works, stopped her from talking.
Purgatory prison, there you go.
I don't know. But a male voice came on and said, sorry, we had to stop her because she was pushing the boundaries that everyone else knew, don't say that stuff. So it's wild. I mean, it's amazing.
It really is. There were so many times that I've thought about, growing up at the farm and seeing the things that I saw, questioning my own senses, my own perceptions, my own sanity. Like I was just a little kid, what 12-year-old goes, am I crazy? No. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. I know that there is something beyond our mortal existence. All these years later, I can't tell you exactly where it is, what it is, how it is. But generally the brick wall that we hit when I've done sessions with them, the brick wall that we've hit was when we've asked about God.
Yep.
We've asked about a creator, when we've asked about extraterrestrials. And they're like, we can't.
I got through the extraterrestrial wall, but the
Did you?
God one, no. No, cannot touch that one. They won't. The best answer I ever got was I asked, they were answering questions for me, and I said, what holiday's coming up? And they're like, Easter. And I said, yes, that's correct. And then somebody on the other side said, that's Jesus. And so I said, yeah, correct. I said, have you seen Jesus? And then some woman came on and said, no, I haven't. And then some little girl came on. She's like, where is he? Where is he? But that's as close of an answer I've gotten to a religious-based, question of there being a God. They won't touch that one. They just won't touch it.
Well, I suspect that part of the reason for that is that we're not supposed to get all the answers.
Correct.
While we're here in soul school, learning how to love unconditionally, learning, the lessons that come from the hard tests.
That is absolutely correct. I mean, think about how disrupting it would be. I mean, there's a reason we can't see them, not on a regular basis anyway. You can't hear them on a regular basis. We don't have access to all that collected consciousness information because you'd be so distracted that the life that you're trying to live, you'd be pulled in so many directions. Your mind would become an entropic soup that you wouldn't be able to know what you're supposed to do next or what you're even here for to learn. Now, granted, we don't know that ourselves, but if you think about it, that if life is a growth of spirit or growth of consciousness on an individual level, which returns to the collective. Mm-hmm. So the collective can grow. If it is the main ontological source, mm-hmm. then it has to learn somehow. And maybe it learns through us being human. But regardless, if you had all that information, knew everything about everything, mm-hmm. what would you think you'd have to learn and how would you develop? So I 100% believe we are cut off from that information for that exact reason, to learn, to evolve, and to grow.
And yet part of that process is the curiosity and the fascination that prompts the questions.
Right. And to me, those questions come from the fact that we probably somewhere in our subconscious or in our conscious, or whatever you want to call it, or where it lives, but there is that recognition that there is something more. And I believe that drives humanity to search for it, because whether we know it or not, I think we do know it. We know there's more than just mm-hmm. this. And that drives the curiosity. It drives the experimentation, the research to see if something can truly be proven. And I think that is a big deal to it.
Well, I also think that there's a unique thing about human beings is that we seek meaning in our lives. Right. I don't think that we're any more or less conscious than the cows grazing in the field. I think cows feel love and affection for each other. Cows fear death. Ask anybody that works in a slaughterhouse.
Correct.
They're terrified at the end of their lives. It's horrific. And yet I don't think that while they're grazing in the field and growing, that they're necessarily contemplating their own existence.
No.
I think that they just live in the moment and eat the greenest next patch of grass that appeals to them or smells sweet. But they live entirely in the moment of their existence. I think that the way that we think is simultaneously a blessing and a curse. I also think it's why people who work in the paranormal field, under that very large umbrella where they're, going off on one tangent and another because, studying a sighting of a Yeti is fascinating, and studying, a picture of something in the sky that can't be identified any other way is
Right.
exciting. And oh, I spoke to a ghost on a machine today. Wow. Or,
Yep.
I mean, we're almost fractured in
Yeah.
terms of where our intellect is drawn, what direction we're going off on, what, like crawling up and down the legs of an octopus.
Yeah.
It's all attached to one entity.
Correct.
But let's go down this path, and let's go down that leg, and it's amazing that people who are paranormal enthusiasts are, well, it's no wonder we're called weirdos. I mean, there's no wonder of that. But I think you have to have some kind of intellectual ability to compartmentalize, because otherwise it would become overwhelming.
That I agree with completely. When you're dealing with a subject that can conflict with two of the biggest authorities of information, science and religion.
Yeah.
And you're trying to weave your way in between one or the other or both.
Mm-hmm.
And you're dealing with a subject matter that one tells you not to touch and the other one says doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's very tricky. And then the even more difficult part is that normally there's a set of variables known and then a whole set of variables unknown. And you try to take the known variables to distinguish what might be the other variables. With the paranormal, that's really hard to do.
It is. Probability and statistics does not lend itself well to the field.
No, it doesn't. And there are unknown variables, and then there's variables we don't even know that may exist. So trying to devise some sort of rationale, some sort of understanding is very difficult. And the other problem are the paranormal axioms that exist. Like somebody says, well, yeah, there's spirits here because there's a portal over there. Okay. Where is the proof that there's a portal where you pointed? How do you know it's there?
Yeah. And when that person says, because I said so,
well, right.
Run in the opposite direction.
And not that I don't believe a portal could exist. I just, my point to the thing is that we accept these axioms like just given without any proof or anything that would lend itself even to say, okay, yeah, we think portals can happen and this is how. We don't have any of that information. No. So, it's like just information that gets passed along and it just is accepted without any questioning of it.
Yeah.
And or putting two mirrors together creates a portal. Mm-hmm. How does that happen? And what studies were done and what's the theory behind it and what's the physics behind? How does that happen? And if I throw a coin into,
and it be reproduced,
correct?
Or is this a one-off?
Right, right. Because so yeah, I mean, if I threw a coin through one mirror and it came out behind me in the other, okay, now I have some information that says, wait a minute, something's going on here. But to my knowledge, no one ever has said that's happened to me or I have that proof. So those axioms also make it difficult to hypothesize, philosophize, and put together information based on what you think is occurring. So it's tough.
I think the most forthright, honest sentiment that anyone who works in this field can express is, I don't know.
Right. Right. And that's the only answer that probably should be coming out, because
Yeah.
until you're on the other side, no one probably will. And like you said, I think there's a reason why we're not supposed to know.
Yep. But that doesn't stop us
No, no, of
searching.
course not.
No,
Of course
because
not.
it is, well, and I think that the primary compulsion for people who research in this field is wanting to prove that there is something beyond our death, beyond our mortality. It is, I open a lot of my lectures with the happiest people I know are obsessed with death. But
Right,
really not obsessed with death, obsessed with finding the path to the afterlife
right,
and being able to, not only find some semblance of scientific proof that we go on, whether it be our consciousness, our soul, whatever word you want to use for it,
right.
but that we treasure life. There's an admission in searching through these questions, and the
There
admission
is.
is, I love life so much. I want some kind of assurance that it doesn't end.
Right. You are absolutely correct. The other thing I want to add to that is that the first couple of years, your interest might be in proving or getting proof that life exists beyond death. After the first 4 or 5 years, maybe, of doing this, we already knew.
Yeah.
We knew that answer. And then your mindset starts to change. Okay, well, what do I want to know now? And then that's when all the tests and the communication and everything else began. Well, we're coming up on year 15 now.
Yeah.
And so a lot has been learned, but for every answer given, there's 100 more questions behind it. So it's, but it's fun, and it's something that we take very serious. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I have so many photographs of what are obviously vessels that are not man-made. I don't even bother taking pictures anymore. I
Right.
don't. If somebody else catches one while I'm doing my thing out there, and calling them all in, actually not calling, they're already here, but, like,
Right.
could you
Right.
please make your presence known to these very nice people that I have with me? And I let them take the photographs. And if, somebody walks up to me and says, oh my God, look at this, I'm like, send that to Lenny or send that to me. And, and then I'll add it to my collection. But I have thousands and thousands of photographs. I mean, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I already
Right.
know. And it's, I think, making that quantum leap in consciousness from suspecting or believing or, wish fulfillment or whatever, to make that leap to, I know.
Exactly.
Liberating. You
Yes.
don't feel like, I don't owe anybody an explanation. I know what I know. I know what I've experienced. I know what I've seen. I've lived long enough that I don't care
Right.
how people react to that information.
Exactly.
It's not my responsibility nor my prerogative to tell them what to think or feel or believe. That's their thing. I just impart the messages that I've received and the knowledge that I have gained. And they can take from it whatever they will. And I know you feel the same. You get to a point where you've just done it for so long and you're so integrated in the process, and so confident that what you've experienced through it is absolutely real. You don't feel any compulsion to convince anybody else of anything. It becomes very personal. It becomes for you.
That is absolutely correct. The other thing about life is that it literally is just a combination of experiences which are subjective to you and to you alone. And that is how human life is for everybody. Now you can say, well, we were both looking this direction and both saw this. Okay, true. But it's still subjective to that person. It's still subjective to that person, how they saw it, how it made them feel, it's all subjective to you and you alone. So, it's an experience where, well, let me rephrase that. It's a life where experience is the only thing that matters. And whether that was hallucinatory, real, and that you got to define what your definition of real is, but meaning that it actually occurred, or if it was a hallucination, or whether it was, psychedelic drugs, or whatever the case may be, if you experienced it, not anyone is more real than the other, because it had the same effect. It caused emotions. It had feelings of happiness or fear, or it was as real as anything else.
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel like I've lived my life. I've lived a Technicolor life. I mean, I've lived a Disney on mescaline life. And like, oh, look at all the pretty colors. It's like, and I feel so grateful, and people, I think, would kind of look at me a little cockeyed, if they've read my books and they know some of the really terrifying things that happened. Terrifying, I think, more so because it was unknown.
Right.
We didn't know what we were seeing. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if it was, malicious, or if it was benign, or if it was benevolent. We didn't know. And it is the fear of the unknown that will cause you to take a giant step back from that kind of an encounter in order to process it from afar, because it's just too uncomfortable to be that close. But when you're living in that environment and you're steeped in that environment, and you live, and even in your sleep have a certain level of anxiety that is maintained at all times, that, sleeping with one eye open kind of thing, it alters your frame of reference and your perspective entirely.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does.
I mean,
if I think about prior to getting involved with all this stuff 15 years ago, and I think about who I was and what I thought was important, and I look at all the changes that occurred in the 15 years of learning stuff and getting information, and so many changes have occurred in what I think is important. And, one of the things that we say at the end of anytime we do a demonstration of Staticom is, regardless that I can get voices from people who are disembodied and no longer here, and that I can ask a question and they can flat out in full sentence answer me, the way we always end it is, that's great. But let the people know that are here now and today. Make sure you express tomorrow's not a given. Let them know how you feel. And that literally was an eye-opening. Yeah, is it fantastic and phenomenal and mind-blowing that we can get these voices from a method that should have no voices at all? Yeah, it is. But I would much rather be able to tell that person here and now, standing in front of me or face to face, hey, I care about you. I care about what you're going through. You mean a lot to me, than doing it through a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. In other words, take the opportunity now while you have it.
Correct.
While you are both among the living.
Absolutely.
No, it was, I mean, my mom, we lost, as you well know, you were so kind to reach out to me.
You bet.
When we lost Mom in June, I just, thought, oh God, I don't know how to live without her. She's been such an incredible force in my life.
Right.
She taught me everything I ever needed to know about humility and gratitude and unconditional love and all the things that are the best qualities
Yeah.
of who I am and who any human being is came from her.
Right.
You know,
Right.
our there was a real relationship there that was, I would have to say, she was the closest person on earth to me, and which of course would stand to reason.
Right.
I grieve for people who are estranged from their parents,
Yeah.
who have had a break with, the people that gave them life, and
Right.
then have to cope after their death with all the emotional baggage that comes with that. I don't
Right.
have any of that at all with my mom or my dad.
Right.
Nothing left unsaid. Nothing left unsaid.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's the way to do it.
but she makes her presence known around here
I'm sure. That I'm
pretty
sure of.
frequently. My poor little peanut butter cup.
Is he getting tortured?
Well, she doesn't know what to make of it because she loves her Grammy very much and she misses her.
Yeah.
But every now and then, Mom will, the chair that's not on this side, the chair over here, this side, it was Mom's recliner. And Peanut has turned it into her fainting sofa. And every now and then, she'll just like wake up, bolt upright, like just jump up in
Wow.
that chair and fly out of it and get up on the back of the sofa and just stare at the chair,
Oh, wow.
like eyes as big as saucers. And I'm usually sitting on the sofa and I just reach back, and we would always hold hands when, that's where we would play Scrabble on the coffee table. And I would sit on the side of the sofa and she would be in her recliner. And it was just the right distance that we could reach out and hold hands while we
Oh,
watch TV. So I don't even look back. I just put my hand out and feel, sense her presence. And she generally only stays for a few moments and then she leaves, and Peanut jumps down and sheepishly goes back over. Is it okay if I take the chair back now, Grammy? And it's so lovely. If I could, I don't even know if I would want to. I'm not ready yet to have a conversation. Does
that's,
that make
yeah.
sense?
No, I mean, it's understandable. And the people that has happened to,
Mm,
I mean, we did a show in Sedona, and there was a mother and her daughter were there, and mother lost her son, and it was the daughter's brother. And they were asking questions. So the mother said, when you were in hospice, we had a code phrase. And she asked Atticon, what can you tell me what that code phrase is? Sure enough, it came barreling out. And I mean, they just broke down in tears, and understandably so. I mean, she recognized the voice, she recognized the code saying was absolutely correct. And yeah, but there's a positive side to it too, is that they get a sense of, okay, they're not gone. They may not be here anymore. And maybe I can't interact, but you can. And that, I think, has a very uplifting
yes.
aspect to it
Yeah.
for the long term of, okay, they're still alive, they're still around, they can hear me, so that, I think that helps.
Can watch over me. Yeah.
Correct.
And then carrying that, if you extrapolate that out even further, at some point, it certainly lends itself well to the notion that we will all be together again.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which then makes you think of how ridiculous humans treat each other on this planet. I mean, if we're all part of the same, and whether you look at that from a religious aspect of God, or whether you consider that to be a universal consciousness or whatever, it doesn't matter. If we're all from the same place, created by the same energy or God or whatever you want to call it, why are we treating each other so bad here?
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing.
It is. It's mind-blowing, and it's disheartening and dispiriting.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tony, I know we've talked personally, but, you know, 6-8 months ago, when things were really bad with Mom and she was starting to leave us, I was so depressed. I didn't care if I lived or died. I didn't care. I didn't. It
I'm
was
so
just
sorry.
every day was so hard. Every night was harder.
Yeah.
It was awful. And I didn't know that I was sick. I just thought I was tired, really tired,
Yeah.
emotionally overwrought. And I didn't realize that I was walking around with a body full of cancer. Didn't
Wow.
know it. And even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to go do anything about it because I was needed here. I was needed here
Yeah.
24 hours a day.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
yeah. And so it wasn't until after my diagnosis that I gave a damn. That I just like, whoa, 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 whoa. I've changed my mind. Allow me to reconsider. As much as I love you, Mom, I don't want to go with you. Now I know you're stronger where you are.
Right.
This would be your opportunity to help me.
Exactly.
And you know, for
And I think she played a big part in that.
Yeah.
A big part.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, I shouldn't say this publicly, but you know, I would be in with her, you know, either she was out here or I was in with her, or you know, whatever, and every day, and she knew that what I thought I was a cyst. I really did, because I didn't feel like I had anything worse than that. I just didn't have time to deal with it.
Right, right.
And you know, she would just grab me every day, just grab me and just pray, you know. She would just hold me tenderly and, does this hurt, honey? Does it hurt? I'm like, no, Mom, it doesn't hurt at all. It's fine. I'm fine. I'll get a needle stuck in it and get it expressed and it'll be fine and it'll be, you know. And she's like, no, it's something else. It's, you know, she didn't want to use the word, but she knew. She knew. So she started healing me before she died.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So, you know, I got a little angel on my shoulder. I got Mom on one side. I've got April on the other. Who knows what's going on with the galactic family? I mean,
exactly. And enough spiritual warriors down here that you had a whole army.
I do. The Light Brigade. They are, and they're like, charge! You know, they shield up, sword out. You know, I mean, circling the wagons. I mean, they are, thousands of people are praying for me.
Yeah.
Thousands. I'm so humbled. I'm so grateful. I am. And I need to go through this, Tony, because I need to survive it so that I can help others, so that I can show them maybe not the same path that I took.
Right.
Each one of us travels our own unique and individual path, but the only way that I can help others in terms of their own healing is if I experience that first.
There's some truth to that. I mean, it's hard to speak about something that you have no knowledge of. And this is probably a terrible example, but I remember my mom telling me that when I was born, or she was giving birth, doctor, who was male, said, "Oh, come on, it can't hurt that bad." And my mom's like, "How would you know?" And then, it took me a minute. I'm like, "Well, I'm like, he's a doctor. Why wouldn't he?" "Oh, he's a man." "Yeah, okay, yeah, how would he know?" But I always think of that when anyone explains a situation where there's no actual physical knowledge of
Right.
the situation that you're trying to help with. So yeah,
I would have had to kick his teeth down his fucking
I'm
throat.
sure my mom wanted to. But
That's kind of how I think I probably would have reacted immediately, and then told him what I tell cancer every day: get the fuck out.
Exactly.
Bring me a midwife, you asshole.
Right.
May you push a watermelon through your penis. May that happen to you. Yeah.
Men can barely handle a cold, so I don't think that's the reason why we don't do that.
Oh God, bless America. Okay. All right. Let me check the time, because the Wizard of Oz, also known as Bill, any time now is going to throw a notice, and here it comes. Here it comes. In 6 minutes. Oh, so generous of you.
That went by fast.
I know it. Oh
Wow.
my God. Hey, at least he gave us 6 more minutes. That's great. Well, he's the keeper of the clock.
He is.
And I tell him every week, that can't be. That's wrong. I'll send you a new atomic clock for Christmas, which I've been promising him now for, I think, 3 or 4 years. Because obviously his clock is wrong.
It has to be.
Oh, here he comes. Oh, now he shows up.
My camera's acting a little crazy right now, but I just want to say, Tony, we miss you so much.
So much.
I miss you guys. I miss you guys too. I honest to God do, and won't deny that ever.
But please send our love to Cherie
and the kids.
Family. Merry Christmas, however you celebrate. Happy New Year.
Oh, where is she? Where is she?
I'm here in the back. I look terrible.
She's behind the green screen.
Okay, she looks like she sleeps in a vat of formaldehyde. I don't want to hear "I look terrible," Cherie. I've seen you.
We've been together for 15 years, and I swear I'm getting older, she's getting younger. I swear, she gets up in the morning, I'm like, what, how is that possible?
Well,
I agree with Andrea, because I met them in person a few years ago, and
yeah. I mean, it's either she sleeps in olive oil or formaldehyde. That'll be one of the two.
And I'm going to tell you, when I went up to the investigation with them to Kreischer Mansion in Staten Island, they take this so seriously.
Yeah.
And she was the first one to say, well, this could be this or this could be that, when Tony picked something up in a bathroom, which definitely was not normal, because this thing.
No, that shouldn't have been there at all.
Heck no. And we all seen it. I don't know, but they're so grounded in their research.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of things going on with you and Cherie with moving forward, but don't ever stop doing the investigations when you can.
Yeah.
No, we won't. There is a lot going on, and like we took this system and we did a podcast with 2 PhD scientists, which I'm sure they thought they were just going to just dismiss this in 5 minutes. End of the show, they invited us to do a Canadian symposium. They were blown away with what Staticom could do. So it's amazing stuff. We're looking forward to it. I am working on an upgrade to it right now, which there is some pieces of it that were off, and I never thought about it until now. Yeah. And now I'm working to get that speech even clearer, longer than it was before. And the tests we've done so far are working. So I'm super excited.
Well, with your expertise, and I don't mean to interrupt, Andrea, but
that's okay.
You know Brady. He's like your godson, right?
Yes, yes.
He's been doing some investigations, and he's about, what is he, 18, 19 years old, Andrew, or something like that? Tony, what would your message be to a young group of newcomers in the paranormal research that were serious about doing? What advice would you give them?
One simple thing: find an established group,
yes,
and learn from them first before you go off on your own, or even 2 or 3 alone. Learn from the group, learn what they do, see how they do things, figure out what equipment they're using, find out what equipment you like. Hopefully the group would let them try it, use it, and then learn from somebody who's been doing it a while.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, I agree. Don't go off half-cocked.
Right.
As we like to say, with the white paint still wet on your black t-shirt.
Exactly.
Learn your way, pace yourself, do your homework. Because, when I was a kid, we didn't have the benefit of all of these people doing all of this work. Are you holding a clock up to me? A what? How dare you? Do you realize you are within kicking distance of me?
Well, we got about a minute, so I'm going to bail out.
Okay, fine. Now I've completely lost my train of thought, which means Tony's going to have to come back. So we'll just carry on.
Let us know.
Things progress. We'll
anytime, anytime I'll come back, Andrew.
I love you dearly. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
All the holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Festivus. Happy. And I adore you. And we close the show out the same way every single week. Always be the beacon. Be the light you seek. You are an example of it.
And so are you. I love you too.
Good night, everyone.